Did you guys see the AP poll? Big 12 actually getting some respect in the AP poll this week. How about that? And is Cincinnati actually a team that should be considered for the best in this conference? Because, woo boy, I asked that question and I had people very angry with me. Okay, so I suppose let's just discuss it here. All right. The AP poll is out. 5 Big 12 teams are ranked. 5 Big 12 teams are ranked. Utah sneaks into the poll. And speaking of things that help with getting College Game Day, the fact that the AP voters actually stepped up and put Utah into the top 25 at number 24, that helps because then it creates a ranked matchup between Cincy and Utah. Okay, that did help. Houston's number 22. Congratulations to the Cougars for being ranked for the first time since 2022. Cincy at number 17. Look at that, man. The Bearcats climbing all the way to 13. Texas Tech up a spot to 13. BYU is at number 10. So the Big 12 does have a top 10 team here. I got to be honest. In a vacuum, it's hard to have too much of an issue with this from the AP voters. If I wanted to nitpick, I would go through and say, well, Georgia Tech is unbeaten out of the ACC. Georgia Tech and BYU had a common opponent in a common place playing Colorado in Boulder, and both got down big early and came back and won a close game. Should Georgia Tech really be 2 spots in front of BYU? I could make a case that maybe not, but I'm not going to get incredibly angry and upset over that. Is Georgia Tech maybe getting a little extra juice just from the brand, the decal on the side of the helmet that they beat with Clemson? Perhaps. We've now seen what Clemson has actually turned out to be this year. Perhaps there's some of that, but I won't complain too crazy hard about that. All right. Texas Tech being in front of Miami, I do think would be nice, but I know that is not going to happen. I would not expect that to happen. So, minor qualms, nothing really major. I'm happy that the Big 12 has 5 teams in. And if you do want to do this comp with the ACC, which tends to happen, if you're the 2 leagues outside of the Big 10 and the SEC here, Big 12's got 10, 13, 17, 22, 24. ACC's got 8, 10, 15, 16. So one less team. They're not relying as much on the back end, though, with Houston and Utah, and Georgia Tech at the high end is slightly higher than BYU. So you do have that. If we're talking about ceilings and potential here, I think most people would still tell you that Miami is the best out of that group. And frankly, I would probably agree, though I don't think Texas Tech is that far behind. Again, if we're taking health into consideration. But I think the Big 12, compares pretty favorably right now to the ACC. Like all that extra brand power, and Miami is doing something, but where's Clemson? Okay, no one can tell me where Clemson is. Yeah, not doing well. Where's Florida State? Total disaster, talking about firing Mike Norvell. It's not helping the ACC when compared to the Big 12 right now. And even this, if you're saying, well, John, like the concern that was raised earlier by Michael, how fast are teams going to drop once they lose a game? Like, what are the odds of an actual 2-bid league for the Big 12 this year? What are those possibilities? Well, I'm going to present to you at least some somewhat encouraging news here. That comes from Andy Staples with On3. Andy Staples does his bracketology. Here's his latest bracketology. His latest bracketology actually has 3 Big 12 teams on the graphic. Now, yes, BYU is the only team in the field. BYU is an 11 seed playing Ole Miss, which would be fun. I look at this bracket. I'm like, that looks pretty fun, man. Georgia Tech, Vandy. Memphis going to Georgia. Then Texas A&M, if BYU can beat Ole Miss, going to play Texas A&M, it's going to be a fun bracket. If you got Vandy, Indiana, that's a game I would really want to see. Anyway, Cincy and Texas Tech are listed in the first 4 out. Cincy and Texas Tech in the first 4 out. You're back up there on the graphic with a chance to sneak in. Cincy actually listed in front of Texas Tech, by the way. Tech fans, I'm not sure how you'll take that. And that's an interesting segue into what I have to say next, okay? Which is that, man, there was a point on Saturday where Cincinnati was up 24-0 on Baylor. And I'm looking over at the other screen on the TV, and BYU is trailing in Ames. And I said I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, Cincinnati impressed me very much. The Iowa State game really got me. The Kansas game had me intrigued. The Iowa State game had me like, okay, I got to be on this. But just when it continues to happen every single week, you're still, fairly or not, Cincinnati, I admit some of this is unfair, but it's been a while since I've seen like a legit Cincinnati team like this. It still catches me off guard a little bit. And I'm like, damn, they're up 24-0 now. I just asked the question on Twitter. Look, I was just asking a question, guys. This got people so angry. But because BYU was losing and because Cincinnati was dominating, I just asked, is Cincinnati the best team in the league? And will you guys look at how many responses that got? There are 130. There are 130 responses to that. 130. I think that might be the most replied to tweet that I have had in years. Just by simply asking ... is Cincinnati the best team in the league? That had people upset. Had people very upset. Okay, now I'm going to give you my Big 12 power rankings on the heels of this. I don't actually think Cincinnati is the best team in the league. In fact, I left them unchanged from where I had them before. Okay, but just testing the waters a little bit there. Testing the waters and making the point that like Cincinnati belongs in the conversation. That's really a part of the tweet. I'm making the point that Cincinnati belongs in the conversation. And if you're somebody like me that was coming along slowly on this, let's be fair to Cincy and include them in this conversation atop the Big 12. All right. And with that, let's get to the power rankings. Okay. Here are the power rankings. Thank you to ChatGPT for making a pretty poor graphic. Again, this always happens. So basically what I've discovered here with ChatGPT is that if you're in the bottom two, it's not going to show up well on this ChatGPT generated graphic. Okay. So West Virginia and Oklahoma State, you got to get better. And then we can get your full name on there. You won't be overpowered by something that says powered by Open for Business, which I didn't ask for. Anyway, BYU still number one. Still number one in my power rankings. Texas Tech still number two. Cincinnati still number three. Unchanged from last week. This is where Houston creeps up there. Houston beating Arizona State. Shorthanded or not, Houston's up into the top four. Utah is at 5. Now, if you ask me, which team do I think would win on a neutral field? I think I would take Utah, but I will admit, I think that'd be a really close game. I think I would still lean Utah in that game. But the more and more you do that, Houston keeps winning games. For now, based on merit and what they have accomplished in the Big 12 so far this year, and Utah already having lost twice in the league, I'm going to give Houston the edge. Arizona State drops to number 6. K-State is the big mover. If you were here at the beginning of the show, you heard my spiel on K-State. K-State, as they are currently constructed right now, I think definitely belongs in the top half of the league for sure, and maybe like the top third of the league. They're playing like that right now and have for the last month. What they were the first month of the season was potentially the worst team in the league. So how do you square that in power rankings? It is tough, but they're 3-2 in the conference right now. They're a blown 14-point fourth quarter lead in Waco away from being like right in the thick of this. So I move them up a lot just to show like, hey, the way they're playing right now, they are definitely a team that is capable of beating about anybody in the league. TCU, Iowa State, it's hard to parse between like your Arizona State, K-State, TCU, Iowa State. So if you're a fan of one of those teams, I would just say don't get like super offended by where I have you in there because there's not a lot of separation in that group. Then we get down to Baylor, Arizona. Kansas takes a bit of a fall. That was definitely a disappointing effort. Kansas fans, I don't need to tell you that. I know how upset everybody is with Leipold and the state of the program and feeling like it was a big step back, all that. Colorado dropped a spot, and I mean, maybe it should have been more. Maybe it should have been more. I'm perhaps being a bit kind to Colorado after the effort that they put forth, and you had Dion talking after the game about, guys can't just be worried about getting paid. Like, you got to go out there and actually ball. Oh, boy. Boy, 43-0 at half with negative 18 yards of offense for Colorado. Things are going south in a hurry for the Buffs. So the Dion haters can get their hacks in right now because things are not going well. Anyway, those are the Big 12 power rankings. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether you're on audio, YouTube, wherever. You know what? Hell, respond to my Cincinnati tweet. Become reply number 131 on that one if you would like to. But let me know what you think. And appreciate all of you guys for that. Let me pop this back up. My apologies for the dirty dinner plate in the background, man. That's how you guys know I'm real. Okay, I'm grinding here in the office, eating dinner in here, getting the show ready for you guys. Please like the video as we wrap up here.